get into that first topic, though. 50,000 migrants are believed to have crossed the Channel to the UK since Labour took office last summer. Now, that's a period of 401 days. It took over 1,000 days under Boris Johnson to reach that total. How do you stop them? Governments, it seems, cannot get a handle on this, but do you have different ideas? For instance, do we need British personnel on the ground in France? Do you think it's benefits and accommodation in this country when they arrive? That system that needs to change. 0207 862 2222 is the number. Let's have a little look at some possible solutions that have been mooted. Have a look at this. Right. Cooperation with France. We are doing that to a certain extent, guys, aren't we? That's what we're seeing from Starmer, hands being shaken, and, you know, a cooperation where both... That's in practice right now, OK? Whether it's working or not, it's another matter.
Yeah, that's a sticking point.
Well, returns agreements elsewhere, so this is apart from France. Actually, we've got now agreements with places like Somalia to take people back. They are going. Processing asylum seekers overseas, we saw that with the Rwanda plan, but we're also seeing suggestions that a European country could be involved in that, or it could be a returns hub. That's one idea. Somewhere like Albania. Haven't come to that resolution yet. Target the gangs, again, something that Keir Starmer has said he's going to do, and certainly the advertising is now illegal. So again, that's in action. ID cards, not in action at the moment, but a suggestion that could prevent people working illegally here. Again, part of that process of making things look less attractive in this country. I don't know, what do you think of that? Does that make sense to you?
Well, the ID cards is one that's been mooted for the last 30 years, pretty much most of my adulthood, and there has been objection on both sides in regards to having more ID and more tracking of individuals. But I think I look at even at the first few, that's the number one is a week old, and so we can't take true measurement of it yet. Return agreements elsewhere should 100% be looked into, especially countries of origin where they've come from. Processing overseas, I think that was widely panned and seen as deeply dehumanizing to take people to a completely different continent with no relationship to where they've come from.
Rwanda was the problem, wasn't it? Wasn't seen as a safe
Not the
place.
idea, but the Rwanda. And then targeting the gangs, we've removed ourselves from the EU, which is... Keir Starmer has attempted to rebuild those relationships with the EU to be able to have a better relationship with Interpol.
4-1, they work
could kind of work.
Target the gangs.
I actually think ID cards could work, but again, we're going to go into a place where we're hyper-monitoring legal citizens, and that has a negative impact on them. Cut the asylum backlog, so the process in getting people throughout the process has always been too long, and as a result, that needs to be sped up. Turning boats back, there's a problem in terms of returning people back through the waters in which they've come from.
Well, this is one of those that I think is a dividing point, isn't it? Certainly reform. Nigel Farage saying the first thing we should do is take them straight back to French beaches and drop them there. There are many problems, people say, with international law, with marine law.
Yes.
This is something that's been tried in Greece, and it has been said that it's resulted in deaths.
Yes.
Is that one you'd go for, Dawn?
Turning the boats back? No, I'll stop the boats leaving in the first place.
How would you do that without cooperation with France?
Well, we are cooperating with France. We've given France £800 million already. That doesn't seem to be working. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with that money. This one in, one out thing is full of holes. So that's not going to work either. The bottom line with this is we stop people coming here in the first place. That sorts all the problems out. Well, this is the $64,000 question that nobody seems to be able to solve. And as for it being an issue with Brexit and things like that, the EU, all the EU countries are having just as much trouble as we are as dealing with the immigration problem. So it's nothing to do with Brexit and all that sort of thing.
It is, though, because they're going to go through a whole bunch of countries, then they come back to us through the waters. So therefore, our relationship with the EU allowed us to have the insights on the gangs and Interpol.
If it's a problem with Brexit, why is the whole of EU having a problem?
Because they are directly bordering many of the countries that they are travelling to. But for them to come through additional waters to get to us, that is because we don't have the information to smash the gangs as we are hoping to. So it's going to be a continuing problem.
Dawn, you said we stop them from coming here in the first place.
Yes, we stop them. We stop people dying in the Channel by coming over. Surely that's the bottom line.
Yeah, OK, but how do we do that? That's what we're saying. This piece is about
I'm thinking...
Which one of these do we go with is not working? And if not, what's number 10? What's the one we're not talking about?
We encourage acceptance. Well, that's never going to happen.
That's number 9. Number 10.
Oh, right, number 10. OK, well, what about some EU working together or Europe working together, even the countries that aren't part of the European Union, to work together and have some kind of cross-country way of sorting this problem out? All European countries, whether they're members of the EU or not, are facing an immigration problem. It can't be beyond the wit of Europe as a whole to sit down and sort out some sort of processing centre where people who are in need of claiming asylum in whatever European country they think they want to claim asylum in, there has to be a way of processing them fairly and safely.
If only there was a political movement or organisation that allowed that to particularly happen
like
and
what?
sit at the table.
If you're going to mention the EU again, because it's not
why does that
working,
have to be the EU?
Germany has a bigger problem than we do.
The point that we were making was the EU should come together, and we were together, and that is something that could have been brought to the table.
Why can't we still negotiate with them? What about Brexit has stopped Keir Starmer going and shaking hands?
I think removing yourself changes the relationship you have, and it changes the impact that you have.
Okay.
At that particular point, Britain was one of the 3 leading nations in the EU who could set any agenda they wanted to.
Let's take some calls. Alan's in West Yorkshire. Alan, do you see anything there that we should be doing that could work, or have you got another suggestion?
Yeah, good morning to you all. I think conscription would be a good thing.
How does that work? How does conscription, getting people into the armed forces, how is that going to make a difference, Alan?
I think it teaches British values. I also think it teaches people how to go on in life in this country.
So, just who are we conscripting, Alan? Migrants?
I would say that 95% of people who come over on the boats are probably young men. Maybe if they were conscripted into the army, maybe there'd be something for there to look at. They could go in for, 3 years. If they don't like it, maybe 18 months, and then we could send them back to the country of origin if they prefer to do that. That'd probably be a good way to do it. And they'd become an important part of our society.
OK. So Alan...
it's something that's never been spoken about before, but surely it's better than having to deal with people like France and all these other countries, because let's face it, whatever you do, it's not going to work. It really isn't. It's been seen not to work. OK. So if anybody can find a better solution... OK, so Alan, what you're saying is, let's call it public service, all right? Not necessarily the army. The idea, guys, that what Alan's saying is if we have young men coming over into this country, the first thing they do is serve the country for a period of 3 years. If they don't like that, then they have to heave-o all the way home again. I'm not sure the British public would want foreign nationals representing their country in conflict or any form of official capacity. We already had... Part of the complaint of migration is nobody seems to speak English. Some of the finest soldiers we've had were the Gurkhas. I agree. My family come from the Caribbean, have contributed to both world wars quite significantly. But the British doesn't solve the problem of the British public. Okay. That's actually what we're trying to solve here. It is creative thinking. It's creative thinking from Alan, though, and I applaud that. Rachel is in Lancashire. What do you think, Rachel? What's the answer?
It's a difficult question. I quite agree with the conscription. My couple of stories are that there's a wonderful fort where my parents live on the south coast and where my caravan is, where the Gurkhas used to reside, and they were really, really clean and friendly and everything else. They moved the migrants in and they have destroyed the place because they said it wasn't fit for them. Now, you can't tell me that that place wasn't spotless. OK. What's the solution, Rachel? I'm looking for answers here. Not the situation as it is, but something that will change it. It's very difficult because we are on an island, and if they can't get in one way, I mean, they're coming in through the southeast coast, yeah? My dad's best friend is an 80-year-old volunteer lifeboat man, and he spent 4 hours in the sea because the Coast Guards didn't start work till 6 o'clock. Now, that's not a criticism of the Coast Guards. It's just that he had to stop these migrants coming in on these boats. Okay. And he was in freezing cold water. So it's kind of like, you can't do that.
Well,
But you can't expect 80-year-old people to stand in the sea.
no, if anything, being an island should give us some sort of protection, Rachel. If we were in the European continent, then there are no barriers. There's nothing to stop people moving across the borders there at the moment. So I don't quite get that, but we're going to move on. Thank you for your call anyway. Stephen's in East Sussex. Stephen, what's the answer?
It's very straightforward, I believe. The main problem is all the people being picked up by lifeboats and everything in the channel, coming ashore. Pick them up. We're blessed by having the Falkland Islands available to us. Mount Pleasant Air Force Base, which is in the middle of something like 20 times the size of Dartmoor. There is a compound there. Put Quonset huts, housing there. It's all secure. Provide them with food. Ship down half a dozen asylum processing people.
OK.
One at a time.
Thousands of miles away, Stephen.
Bring them
It's
back.
in the South Atlantic, thousands of miles away, taking them thousands of miles away, not only from the UK, but from where they came from in the first place. Massively expensive.
Not expensive at all. There are daily flights from Wise Norton to Islands.
Very quick
Those flights
reaction.
are going every
Very
day.
quick reaction to what Stephen's saying. Falklands Islands as a solution, Dawn.
It's an interesting prospect. I do think we need a solution to process people fairly and fast, and that's what we don't have at the moment. Whether the Falklands is the answer, I'm not sure.
But somewhere
It's going to be
offshore.
quite expensive to do so, but it's also expensive to put them in hotels at the moment.
OK, thanks for your call, though, Stephen. Everyone's getting creative. I like this. Flora's in Nottinghamshire. Have you got an answer to the migrant crisis, Flora?
Yes, I think so. There's a lot of small islands off the north coast of Scotland, around Orkney and Shetland. I can't see why we can't put missing huts up there and send them up there straight as soon as they come off with the boats, straight to the north coast of Scotland where there's water on the island, possibly a doctor on there on call, build missing huts, and trust me, after they've spent a winter in a Scots winter, I think they want to go back home.
Is that? Are you punishing them, Flora? Is that what you're trying to achieve?
No, I'm not punishing them. I want to make sure that they're looked after. But after they've been through a winter up there, I think they'll want to go back home.
I think Flora here is listening to Emmanuel Macron, who is saying that we're making it too comfortable in this country. And certainly if they find their way
On
up
top
to
of that, I don't very much get many protesters up there.
You don't get many protesters. No, you don't. Thank you so much, Flora, for those suggestions, and thanks for getting creative with us. It's a serious subject, but clearly the answers that we've got here are not quite ticking all the boxes. Later on.